Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and whatever your life circumstance, you are welcome here. Our prelude prepares us for the worship. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope. This morning, again, we light two more chalice candles, or two more candles, in honor and memory of the two icons of the civil rights movement, legend Representative John Lewis and lifelong civil rights activist Reverend C.T. Vivian. Both died last Friday.
Good morning. Let us join in worship. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Our opening hymn is We Laugh, We Cry, number 354 in our gray hymnal, used by permission and performed in our sanctuary, recorded earlier this week by Warren Palmer and Becky Talent.
To which
Good morning again. I have a reflection for you this morning titled Community in the Age of Broken Femurs. As some of you know, Suzanne and I grew up in farming communities in western Oklahoma. Suzanne was one of 28 graduates from Leedy High School circa 1968. There were 57 graduates in Cordell High School, class of 1963. On weekends in Cordell, everyone with a driver's license and a car was out dragging Carlas. The drag was around the courthouse, the prettiest courthouse in Oklahoma, by the way, and 2 miles up the hill to Carla's drive-in hamburger stand. You would see who was hanging out with whom. It was important to see if the girls were sitting close to their boyfriends or if she was hugging the door. It was a good place to grow up. Today, we're talking about community. We currently are experiencing a pandemic, taking many lives. Systemic racism, raw and violent. Unemployment and hunger in a shaky economic system. These issues expose just how many in our culture are in need. However, a New York Times Wednesday article this week titled, "Your Ancestors Knew Death in Ways You Never Will," argues that COVID-19 pales when compared with the pestilence of New York in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. But these issues expose just how much our culture still has to do to make a healthier civilization for all. The Canadian Record, a weekly newspaper, serves Canadian, a town in the Texas Panhandle, and is located very near Leedy, Oklahoma, Suzanne's hometown. Suzanne shared with me a recent story from the Record, an article about the state of our current civilization. It told of a student asking Margaret Mead, the renowned anthropologist of the 60s and 70s. The question was, what was the first sign of civilization? Expecting to hear a clay shard or a tool or even religion, she was surprised when Mead explained that a broken femur that had healed was the first sign of civilization. In pre-civilization, if you broke your femur, you were dead. You would be eaten or starved long before the leg healed. But a healed femur means that other people stayed with you, cared for you, protected you, and put your life above their own self-interest. Long enough for the femur bone to heal. At least one human responded to another with compassion. Let's use this as a metaphor for what we are dealing with today in our Unitarian community. Social distancing because of COVID-19, watching television images of unrest from police brutality against Black men and women. Perhaps watching marches of Black Lives Matter, or tracking our slippery economy with our nation's high unemployment. Showing understanding for dairy farmers facing foreclosure, or my nail tech closed. She supports a family of 3. It seems to me that our civilization is in need of being cared for, of being protected, and having communities of people who put each other's lives ahead of their own. Long enough for our communities to heal and for justice to be brought or restored. Our civilization needs Reverend Diana's Sunday services. Even my morning walking group serves me in this community, as does working with Suzanne to create this morning's service. In 1993, when my first husband, father of my children, and I divorced, I left our group of supportive friends, the community in which we had raised our children. Because I had worked with Unitarian members Kathy Solovsky and Ernest Kane, and I knew Barbara Galvan, and Sue Hagel was my physician, I knew that we had similar values. So I visited the Unitarian Church. One UC has become my supportive community. My metaphorical broken femur was divorce after 25 years of marriage. First Unitarian cared for me, protected me, and put my interest above their own self-interest. I'm grateful for this healing community. I sometimes have trouble remembering that even though the outside world may be raining, if I keep on smiling, the sun will show its face and smile back on me, as the old song goes. Eventually, the sun did shine on me. I even found a new life partner here. Together, we face a broken reality, but refuse to stop cherishing this astonishing world in its brokenness, so that others may bring their troubles. Together, we respond with care, protection, and interest above our own self-interest, long enough for our brokenness to heal. The secret to survival? Compassionate community. Dwight D. Eisenhower said, "This world of ours must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual respect and trust." We are a compassionate community.
Every Sunday when we are together in church, we take an offering. Since 2002, all cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in our community, our Change for Change partners. This month, July, our Change for Change partner is Hope for the Future, a nonprofit visitation center that offers a warm, safe, home-like setting for children who have been removed from their homes by child welfare. The purpose is to have them be able to visit with family members in a safe setting. Since its opening in 2018, Hope for the Future has served over 490 children, 100 to 87 families, and the numbers continue to grow. At this point, we will take an offering, and we have a special treat for you. Warren and Becky will perform Communion, written by Carol Koss and Thomas Benjamin, on the 100th anniversary of our church in 1993, recorded a few days ago in our sanctuary, and we will run a video of scenes from our church community. We will give you time to make your donation to our special Change for Change. You may wish to make your donation using a credit card through our website, or this could be a good time to find your checkbook, write out a check, and put it aside to mail to First Unitarian tomorrow morning. Let today's offering reflect our highest aspirations for the work of this church in the world. Oh, what a wonderful treat to see the faces and hear the voices of Warren and Becky in our sanctuary, and later the voice and beautiful face of Denise, made possible with the technical expertise of Chris and Sundeep. Thanks to all of you for the effort to bring us these gifts this morning. Now, for those among us who need to know such things, let me assure you that our service will be over by noon. We're about 18 minutes out, time that Deborah and I hope affirms and inspires you. We are so missing being together. We miss our friends, our families, our coffee shop buddies, our spontaneous gatherings or unplanned running into each other at the grocery store, seeing our coworkers at the office, checking on the well-being of our loved ones in nursing homes, and even being with other members of the audience for the lovely talents of our musicians and artists. Even though we are privileged citizens of a first world nation, and the losses of most of us aren't on the scale of many people who share the planet with us, honestly acknowledging our losses, fears, and hurts helps us to empathize and care for each other, many who have lost so much. As one of my friends said, I haven't walked in your shoes, but I have walked in shoes that hurt. It seems that what we're missing are those parts of our communities we can no longer take for granted. And the pandemic has reminded us that we are part of a world community. There's a reason the second tenet in our church's mission statement is to nurture community. We have to pay attention to nurturing community now, and so we are finding new ways to be in community. One of those new ways has inspired our nurturing community recognition this morning. Before we do that presentation, I need all of you that are here by Zoom, phone, and Facebook to listen up for a second. You will want to participate. Fair warning, in just a minute, I'll ask Chris to unmute all of you so that you can share your joy in this nurturing community recognition. Here we go. Each morning since the beginning of the shutdown, the members of the Church Alliance receive a delightful, insightful, and often poignant message from Alliance President Rodney Goddard. Rodney weaves his observations of nature, memories, and history into a philosophical, inspiring message, and shares his feelings of frustration, gratitude, and even joy that he experiences in the isolation of the shutdown. His messages resonate with all of us as we share the isolation, now becoming, for some of us, sort of a disoriented lethargy. And it inspires others to share their feelings and memories. We get quite an email string going. Rodney's beautiful gesture keeps us connected. It lessens our loneliness and isolation and reminds us, as Rodney closes each letter, to remember our stays. Stay healthy, stay apart, and stay safe. If you're not on Rodney's email list, you're missing something precious. He'll be glad to add you. Rodney rages against the isolation, sharing what he observes on his daily runs around his neighborhood, his journeys through books and memories, and lately, his weekly day trip around our state. He resists being cooped up. So we have a special recognition gift for Rodney that was delivered earlier this week in a discreet brown paper wrapping and labeled a prop for a presentation to Alliance. Rodney thought this was going to be a presentation to Alliance. So Rodney, at this point, you may disregard the admonition not to unwrap this gift, and we'd appreciate your unwrapping it. Now, while Rodney is unwrapping his gift, and you will see him in just a minute, I want to show you what he is unwrapping. see, does this, yeah. If you can see this, it is a book called Where's Rodney? It's about a young boy named Rodney who could be our Rodney. He is so exuberant and enthusiastic about life.
Well, thank you.
The inside cover blurb says of Book Rodney, Rodney was inside, but he wanted to be outside. Outside is where he always wanted to be. Book Rodney was often cooped up because his neighborhood was unsafe. Our Rodney is cooped up because we are now in an unsafe neighborhood, infested with a dangerous, intractable virus. Book Rodney's life is transformed when he goes on a field trip to Yosemite. Our Rodney's journeys are transformative for all of us, as well as for him. Rodney, this book was purchased in anticipation of presenting it to you at the end of your first year as president of Alliance. Life was interrupted, and we didn't get to do that. But really, its meaning and our gratitude have only been enhanced by the conditions we are in and your leadership through these times. One of the results arising from Rodney's messages has been Carol Casas sharing limericks that she has written. 2 of them sum up our feelings about Rodney and are included on the presentation page that we put inside the book cover. And here are the limericks. Ode to Rodney, number 1. Sir Rodney, our knight in bright armor, daily helps us feel calmer. In this virus-rife time, without reason or rhyme, Sir Rodney, our savior, a charmer. And Ode to Rodney, number 2. Observer of ducks and small birds, Sir Rodney diverts us from herds who depress and divide us. Instead, he invites us to relax in his soul-lifting words. So at this point, I know everybody wants to cheer and clap and show their appreciation to Rodney. So Chris is unmuting you. Let Rodney know how you feel.
Yeah.
Rodney, do you have a couple of sentences that you would like to say other than don't ever trust anything Suzanne tells you again?
Well, I pretty well stand by what I say every day, and so I'm humbled. I'm humbled by how well people have taken this pandemic. I'm new to this. You're lucky I even got all this together, and now I can start attending church. You can see that technology has been a struggle, but again, I do thank you for this gift, and I hope that we all get out of this in one piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. Well, this was a complete surprise for Rodney, and we'll look forward to your morning message. Thanks, Rodney. By the way, I commend this book, Where's Rodney, to all our parents of young children who might be here this morning. A copy is being donated to the church RE library with an inscription in honor of Rodney. One morning, 1 or 2 days into the shutdown of our world, just before dawn, I stepped into my backyard. Now, you may recall the first few days were pretty constant rain and grayness, indoors weather. This particular morning, the sky was heavy, overcast. The low-hanging clouds were lit by the pre-dawn light to a sort of a gray glow. The city was eerily quiet, no cars on the usually busy street next to my house, no jet engines warming up at the airport. I felt as though I were in a sci-fi biodome, enveloping the whole earth, binding all earthlings together. I imagined the dome's solitary heartbeat as it would have been in the sci-fi movies, as it prepared for the alien invaders. And then I remembered, this was real. This planet, this biodome, my home, this community I love, my fellow earthlings were under attack. And a huge sadness fell over me. My feelings sprang from a deep connection between and among humans. We need each other. Our need has caused us to forge bonds, community, by which we care for each other, bind each other's wounds, and work together for justice and fairness. While the numbers and magnitude of broken femurs seems overwhelming, in a world discolored by meanness, chaos, violence, dishonesty, injustice, war, the pandemic, and the list goes on, I see the gift of grace. The grace that impels us to stay with our neighbor with the broken femur. Bestowed on humans, we know not from whence it came, evolution, each other, a higher power, a universal spirit, it really doesn't matter. Grace is in our power, and grace is our power. It is grace that enables the teacher to look past the disruptive, angry student and see the hungry, hurt child. It is grace that inspires interpreters to work long hours to help complete strangers complete confusing unemployment applications. It is grace that led a 57-year-old woman to take a job washing dishes in a nursing home so that she could be inside during the shutdown to take care of her Alzheimer's-stricken husband, to hold his hand, to calm him to sleep, as she's done for several years. It is grace that gives her resolve to say, he's not going to walk this journey alone. It is grace that inspired our friend and veterinarian, Dr. John Otto, to start the program that places dogs from shelters with prisoners for training as therapy dogs. The ultimate redemption story, as one of the funders says, thrown away people helping thrown away animals. It was grace that caused a battle-hardened American soldier, upon seeing a weak, starved teenage girl after liberating a concentration camp, to stop and write a note on the only piece of paper he could find, ironically, a worthless German banknote. He wrote, "The start to a new life, good luck and happiness." It was grace that led the 90-year-old woman to the family of that soldier to tell them how much that act of kindness meant. It was grace that allowed her to accept his kindness after the cruelty she had endured. She said, "This soldier was the first human being who was kind to us. It was the first time after this terrible life that somebody was kind, and I knew that somebody wanted to help." It was grace that gave Representative John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian the courage to stand in nonviolence against violent racism and injustice. And it is grace that will open our vision to our own blind spots that make us complicit in the isms in our world. It is grace that will let us see our opportunities to be kind and work for justice and peace. Through the gift of grace, we are able to look past our neighbor with the weird political beliefs to see the woman worried about her mentally ill son. Through the gift of grace, we are able to look past the angry man raving about his right not to wear a mask and see the father whose business is failing and doesn't know how he's going to feed his family. Through the gift of grace, we can see the stress in the face of the tired grocery clerk who is on the second 8-hour job that day. And through the gift of grace, we are inspired to lend a hand. It is grace that will heal our world, our broken femurs, and grace that will bring us together in loving community. As we enter into our time of prayer and meditation, led by Denise's lovely voice, let us remember times that grace was shown to us, times that we were inspired by grace, and how in the times ahead of us, grace can guide us.
Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see.
Thank you, Denise. Our benediction comes from the Hebrew scripture, Micah 6:8. And what is asked of us but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God? Beautifully expressed here in music, Micah's question, written by Beverly McClary and performed by Becky and Warren.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community, which burns in our hearts. We invite you to enjoy the postlude by Warren, take a short break, and join us for coffee hour.